Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my Stoic Circus. And today we're going to be talking about, do you know what you're asking for? That's right. Do you know what you're asking for? We're going to dive deep into getting what we want by knowing what we're asking and what we're asking of ourselves. So stay tuned here in just a minute as we get started. All right. All right. Good morning, everybody. It's what is it? August 12th, 2023. It's Saturday morning. It's about what something like around 8:30, 8:36, whatever it is. But I got up this morning with some peace and knowing that I wanted to start the day out great. And I got onto Clubhouse and I went into a room and they were reviewing the book, The Greatest Salesman in the World. And they were reviewing scroll 10 out of the book. And this book is it's definitely seen, as you can see on YouTube. For those who are watching me on YouTube, go to 72 the Architect on YouTube and you'll find my channel. But anyway, this book that I have, it's definitely seen some age, it's seen some miles. I've had it for probably 20 plus years. And it's a short read, but it really, the topic of the room and the discussion overall really hit home for me, for many reasons. And what it was really hitting my conscience was about knowing what I want. I've been definitely through trials and tribulations lately. I've definitely been through um, some obstacles, and knowing my obstacles and knowing what I want, knowing how I want to achieve them, all that great stuff, is really important. So, do you know what you are asking for? Say like if you're asking for riches, you're asking for a new job, why do you want this and how will it work for you? These are really simple questions that you should be asking every time there's something of interest. There should be a follow-up of like, what will this do? How can I use it? Why must I have it or use it? And then when will I use this? So I think it's very, very important that when we get excuse me, clarity on things, that what we're asking for, what we want, like how will it work? It's very important that we understand all those things. And if we do and we give ourselves a little bit of chance, a little bit of grace, a little timing, and much, much more, when we give ourselves these things, then guess what happens? We begin to say, okay, there can be a pathway to getting what I want out of life, instead of like, let me just fill in the slot so I don't have to worry about what's going to take place. And when I was reviewing um, some of the book, so to speak, of the greatest salesman in the world, it really brought me home into what matters to me. And I've been reviewing that for a while. And this month on Stoicism, it's about pragmatism. So I think that's very, very important to get, to understand. And when we see that, there's a couple of things that, when the book was talking and when I highlighted, literally, I don't know, 20 years ago, there was a page that really stuck out to me because I had it highlighted. And that was knowing what you're asking for. Excuse me, let me go to the end of the book, scroll 10. Yeah, that's where I really highlighted it. It really said, I laid out a few things. The writer basically described how, never ask for things like, let me bring up my notes. And he basically said, don't pray for material things or petty possessions. Like, don't pray for material things. Never seek the delivery of gold, love, good health, petty victories, fame, success, and happiness. Why is that? And I was like, well, isn't that what everyone wants? They want some success and validity and variety to do what they want as they choose, right? And but the writer goes on to say, he says, well, only you should be asking, the thing you really should be asking for what your heart's desire is guidance, guidance to seek the answers for the pathway of the things that you want to have in your possession, because not everything that you want is really deserving. You may not really need it. I've asked for plenty of things, plenty of times where it didn't end up being that I really wanted it after all. There's plenty of times I've been to a restaurant and I'm like, oh well, hey, that would be great if I could add this thing. It would be great if I could have this food and it's going to give me a wonderful experience. And then I try it, and it's like garbage. Matter of fact, I went to Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk last weekend, and I just took me and my significant other, and we just kind of we needed a day to kind of like really reconnect. We needed an outing, and that kind of happened. It did. And I say kind of because there were some things that were going on in the background with us that we were just trying to work through. So we went to this restaurant, and we went to this place called Stadagno Brothers, which is a classic marquee. It's like one of Santa Cruz, the actual Pier Boardwalk's oldest restaurants. And one dish I love Cioppino. I mean, hands down, I had a wonderful experience going there. And my girl said something to me, and she goes, I noticed a difference in here. They remodeled recently, and not to really say anything bad, but we noticed little differences. Overall, the restaurant kind of looked the same, but they removed the white tablecloths that they used to have. The menu shrunk. The variety was very simplistic, and it just kind of seemed like we were eating at a diner. And my dish was okay. I mean, I enjoyed it to a point, but then I kind of, when my company did not enjoy what they ate, and I could see it on their face, I could see what you know what was going on. I asked, I said, did you enjoy your meal? "Ah, it was okay, you know. And when we were talking about it, I'm all, did you get what you wanted? And she's all, you know what? Thank you. I appreciate it. And that was her way of saying, no, I didn't get what I want. So, and it was one of those moments where I chose the restaurant. I said, no, this is the direction I want to go into. This is the direction that I'm going to be in. And when I understand that that's the direction that I'm going to be in, then okay, we're going to follow under my guidance, right? So my guiding reason was to go to the restaurant. It didn't work out, but that didn't ruin the situation. No, it didn't. What it did was we went walking. We spent time with our little girl. We went to the boardwalk. We walked by. They have like this thing every other Sunday, bachata by the sea, and then on different Sundays it's salsa by the sea. So they have Latin music by the boardwalk. Walked through, saw some rides, got some carnival treats, ice cream, caramel apples, and we spent time on the beach, and that was very fulfilling. But was it the experience that I wanted? And did I even ask for it? No, I just led the directions like, okay, this is the idea that I'm going to go with. And I didn't ask necessarily for it. But to really get down and hammer down on the show, a lot of us are seeking, an upgrade. But in order to have upgrades, you really got to appreciate what you already have with the ability that you already have. Like, ask for opportunity that your abilities would aspire to and achieve to. That's what the greatest salesman in the world talks about. But it's more than that. It's really taking the time to realizing what you may be asking for is beyond right now where you deserve to be. And I really took that. And so what the book did go on to say is like, ask or pray for guidance. Pray for guidance to be shown the way to acquire these things, and prayer that they'll be answered. So if they're deserving, you want a better home, you want an improvement in your income. Um, there are some out there who will say, imagine it already in your possession and act as if you did. And the reason why they say that is because you know exactly what you've asked for, so then you can go and get it. And it doesn't matter whether it's about God, doesn't matter about whether it's spirituality, the timing of the stars. It really doesn't matter about all that. What does matter is that you're answering your guidance within yourself. You're guiding yourself to increase. And one of the things that distracts us and gets us off of what we really know what we want is, the options. The options tend to tell us, well, this may be the better way, or no, this way. Well, it might take so much work. So to be shown the right way, you've got to know what it is that you truly want. And see, our wants in our lifetime, they will go endlessly on. From one thing that you gain, there will probably be 10 to 20 other wants that attach to that one thing that you want, right? For example, if I want to increase my wealth, right? What will the increase of my wealth do? Well, I'll have a hell of a lot more. Yes. And matter of fact, yesterday we were talking in a group where, does money make you happy? Does money create happiness? And if you listen to the specific question, does money create happiness? Well, yes, it does in a way. Money is just the object, but the pursuit and possession and keeping the money for at your whim and way matters the most. So that means okay, you got the money. Now what? Are you going to go and blow it? Are you going to go and spend it just on anything just because you have an impulse to buy? And that's where discipline and humility really come into play. Is like when I'm truly defined that I know how it will work, what it will work for, why I must have it, and when I'm going to use it, it makes our decision making so much easier, and it clarifies a lot of things that we can really take for precious accounts, you know, because one of my colleagues was saying, I'd give all that money up for just the experience with my kids. And I said, and there was like kind of like a debate about how back and forth about, men and women of how that money and that time, what it does, and the roles that we play. And my perspective was, as a man, it's supposed to be my provider, my protection. It's going to be my house. And as long as I know that my house is in order, that means not just the physical house, but the mental house, the spiritual house. You know, when you have the mental and the spiritual and you align it with the actual object, okay, I have this big of a home, it's going to do this. This is worth my life investment. And when you buy a home, you're not going to buy your home just all set and ready and go. No. What I've learned about home ownership is that you develop and you build. Like imagine you've got the framework of the house, right? You got the walls, you got the kitchen, but there's no appliances, there's no furniture, there's no garden. You are going to take possession of that home, and living in that home means you're going to add things. You're going to add aesthetics. You're going to add, things that give it meaningfulness to you. And this is where I've got to really appreciate my partner, because like when we were talking one day and she says, you know, if I'm going to build with you and bring my tools, which she has amazing skills on how to decorate, and I'm always blown away by what she does. She comes from a great line of people where, like, even her mom changes the furniture around every month, right? Or every so often. And it's always beautiful, which brings on to that knowing that what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it, right? And when you know what you're going to get out of it, it's because you've used creativity to let the house grow as you grow. Your kids, like at my mom's house, there's the pantry door, and she has like these little notches, like with pins, like with the kids and the year, how much they grew. And I always, as I walk by, and every time I see that, I see how the kids have grown, her grandkids, how they've grown. And it's an amazing sight, because it's a moment to show in time where you were or where they were. And as you grow and as your home builds, so do, the needs of the home, the needs of yourself. And so that really points down to, do you know what you're asking for? If you ask for it, okay, then what's the exchange? Which goes into the laws of attraction. The laws of attraction, but written by Jerry and Esther Hicks, Ask and It's Given. They also talk about this. Know clarity of what you want, and when you have clarity of what you want, you'll be willing to get it, but you must give. the law of averages and exchanges, which up until today, I didn't quite understand the law of averages, but now after having this discussion, it gave me some insight. It gave me some ideas about thinking about how things. So what you teach yourself, what your beliefs are about, your home and what you're asking for. So, and when you take like some big projects, let's say I want to build a big deck or a big gazebo or a sitting area. It takes strategy, it takes some planning, it takes some prepping, it takes work. And sometimes you can do it all by yourself, and other times you're going to need people to help you along. And life is a series and chain of events where you will need different people. So when you know what you're asking for, do you know what are you asking for? It's like, will I be able to purchase this or get this on my own? And if I can't, and I can't right now, what is the journey like? Which goes on to my next big point, where in chapter 10, or I mean the book 10, he says, you have been taught the lion and the eagle and how to prosper with teeth and claw. However, he says, but you must love, love so that I may be a lion amongst men and an eagle in the marketplace. And what does that mean? That means that the lion is not going to hunt after just any piece of meat or prey, right? He's going to know when he wants to get up. Because if you look at the lion, they're so big and bulky. They're probably one of the strongest, animals in the wild, one of the strongest. And when you look at the mere strength, the size of their teeth, the size of their claws, it's pretty amazing. And I've actually seen a lion, in zoos. And let me tell you, when you get up and close and personal, it tells you a lot. But let's not forget the eagle, right? The eagle has these huge claws and these small little eyes, but the biggest wingspan, and they cruise in the air and they look for exactly what they need. What they need, say, like if they're for themselves or maybe their nest, but they go after it. But it doesn't mean that you go after just anything, just any opportunity. Like, for example, if I'm building my deck in my gazebo or whatever, am I going to use the cheapest materials? No, not necessarily. I'm not going to put in the things that will fall apart so easy. And I notice um, as I've grown up that when I see different people and friends of mine, they want to do the cheapest possible build, but then they complain, oh, this thing was useless. It fell apart on me. I've got to throw it to the trash, and it becomes disposable. So when you know what you want, is the thing that you want disposable? Is it only going to be used for a short period of time, for a fast fix? Is it only going to appeal to the emotion, right? So when you know that, you'll consider where you're at. But I've met too many where even myself, I've been in a mindset of poverty. And what does that poverty mean? And poverty, it could represent a lot of things. And what I like about what I read in the book, what I reviewed 20 years ago, and I wrote this, it said, but these things are impossible without gold. Who can live in poverty with peace of mind? How can you be happy with an empty stomach? How can be demonstrate love for one's family if he's unable to feed the clothing, house them? You yourself have said that wealth is good when it brings joy to others. Why then is ambition to be wealthy not a good one? Well, there's a really a thing about that that predicates off, does money make you happy? No, money is just the tool of access. Money grants you more yes, and a lack of it grants you more no's. But when you don't know that discipline of how to spend, how to invest, which we've heard so many of the slogans, the wealthy invest first and pay themselves last. What does that mean? Or pay your debts last. You invest first. And a lot of times the poor and the broke, they will pay all their bills and they'll try to play with what's little left afterwards. Sounds crazy, right? But then it made sense. When it made sense to me, when I understood, even yesterday as we were having this discussion, looking at, do you really have a poverty mindset? Do you have a place where you are stuck? Honestly, are you stuck in your beliefs? What he goes on to say is poverty may be a privilege and even a way of life for a monk in the desert, but for only for himself to sustain, none by which God to be pleased. But here's the important one. I consider poverty be the mark of a lack of ability or a lack of ambition. I am not deficient in either of these qualities. Well, we all have a lack in our lives. We come to a place where it's like, hey, I'm not the greatest, I'm not the best. I may have doubts, insecurities, which we all do. But when we look at those insecurities, it's like, well, okay, is this an obstacle that just needs to be overcome with just some work? Maybe some work and strategy and understanding of what the work is going to produce. If I go look for a job right now, I can find a job very easily. This is the weird thing about the times about right now. Anyone can find a job. But when you look at what's being paid, is that job going to adequately sustain yourself? Are you applying yourself to learn and upgrade your skills? And also not just upgrade your skills, but your ability to be within the opportunity. Some people have told me, you know what, Jason, I hate how I'm just stuck in always this mediocre role. And I say, okay, you've been hired to fill in a slot. Now, what are you learning from that slot to now as experience and take to the next experience? Where do you want to be? Do you know exactly how it's going to be? Like when you look at, if I gain $1 million, okay, great. But if I don't watch out, just like the fable about lottery winners, many lottery winners go broke because they never learned the discipline and the laws of averages. They never learned about my sense of self and the lures and distractions and all those things that come at you. Oh, invest in this deal. Your money starts depleting and depleting and depleting and depleting. And before you know it, there's no money. And now they're in more debt than they actually won. And they're in their position because it's a mindset of beliefs. The poverty mindset told you didn't think about what you wanted. You just forgot what you had. And when you blew that money, so say like if we won recently, the California lottery reached to $1 billion. Let's say you won that. Okay. It's very easy to get distracted. It's very easy to go and say, well, I've got all this money. Why not? Hey, you get a car, you get a car. No, you're not Oprah. You don't have that revenue stream. You just got a chance in life to upgrade you, but you forgot that you might need to learn some discipline. Because guess what? There's a few things that are going to come into happen. As the more money that you have gained through a lottery winning, you're going to have to pay a big sum to the tax man. He's going to take it. It's actually a racket, in my opinion. When you look at how the taxes work with lottery winnings, that $1 billion, you'll be lucky to keep 200 million. That's crazy. When you look in the fine print of how lottery, and this is why they suggest that you get an attorney and accountant who can help you navigate through those spaces. Because as you make more, guess what? You're in a now of a category that you have to manage resources. And now you're looking about how the wealthy hold their resources. Like it's not how much you made, it's how much you're really going to be able to keep and grow from that point. So we have to look for guidance and discipline and humility to be able to keep those things, to be able to celebrate and not let it go to our heads. Like, do I really need to buy a $3 million house or a $50 million house in Beverly Hills? No, I don't. What could I live with? And I kind of learned this from, I watched several very infamous and very famously wealthy people. Some of them went overboard, like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos. They've got such a big revenue stream. They don't even think. They have to create these foundations like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Jeff Bezos has Amazon, but he is the CEO, but he has write-offs. He gets a paycheck from being an employee of that company. Majority stock is owned by him, but he's not the quote unquote owner. No, his company operates under an umbrella and he does a lot of these tax breaks. So and he's a very smart guy. And when you listen to him and he says like, how he takes meetings, how he does his work-life balance, doesn't take any meetings until after 10 a.m. Why? Because he takes his personal time for himself. But getting back to the point, these wealthy people have money and they live within their means, but now their means are becoming, you know, what they have is it's just building and building and building and building. It's like, well, okay, now the temptation of you can literally go sideways is so very easy. And it's like another way to explain this is like, look at, the best athletes in the world. They reach a pinnacle, like when rookies reach a highlight year, right? And they get they're the best, never seen any better. And it gets to their head, that's where their folly begins because they lost sight of what they wanted to keep what they needed. And it's really interesting to see how people constantly do that. And even I've done it. I remember, okay, last summer, I got a big sum of money, right? And I blew it. I blew a lot of it in 4 months. There was things that needed to be fixed. There were I took a very nice vacation with my significant other and my daughter. And what did I have to show for it? Well, there were things that got fixed and got out of my way. But did I take the money to invest? And that's where I was like, are you freaking serious, Jason? And now when I need more money because I had more problems that I didn't anticipate, it's because I had no grip on reality of, you know, I need to not just save for a rainy day, but build up my holdings. And my holdings are the things that tell me where my limitations are. But see, with discipline and humility, you can now consider getting out of poverty. And that builds your mindset. So now I know how to manage money. I know how to manage. All right. You know what? This service, I'm going to pay $400 for a year for podcasting. I don't know, but that's something I enjoy doing. Like, for example, I pay for Restream. It's about $39 a month. I got on a killer deal. Right now, it's like $50 a month for what I want. Am I going to give up that deal? Not so easily. Why? Because I podcast. This is something I do. It facilitates. I wanted this service to help me produce so I can go on YouTube and speak. And why am I making content? Am I getting paid for this? Not right now. I'm not. But I'm building and I'm growing the seeds and I'm sowing into life what I really want. And what is it that I want? I'll tell you. I don't like to share my goals too often. I like to keep them to myself. I want to be on big stages to speak. That's right. Big 10x stages. I want to be on book tours. I want to be an influential person for change and improvement and growth. There are plenty of these people out there. You got David Meltzer, you got Ryan Holiday, you've got Eric Thomas, Ed Milet, Jim Quick. There's all these major guys, right, who've made social impacts. Jay Shetty made these social impacts. Even some of the biggest guys, Jim Rome and Tony Robbins. These people have literally made impacts on people to change their lives. And that's what I really, truly want. But in order to do that, I had to clean up my own house, which was very, very important. And let's just say God brought that or life came knocking at my doorstep, said, hey, you want this? You truly want it. Okay. Now I've got to show your folly. I've got to change your perception on your beliefs. I've got to really get you to look at what you truly value, because those material things that you're asking for, that position, that role, it comes with great responsibility. And when I looked at that, and I've been thinking about it ever since, it's like, yeah. And then even my relationship has taken a hit for quite some time. And the most valuable time to me is when I am with my significant other, when I am with my 5-year-old, when I am with my 15-year-old, and even my 27-year-old. When I'm with these individuals, they are my home. So what am I doing to build and have an umbrella to provisions and protections? What am I doing for that? If it's not feeding those causes, then you're going to kind of go into it's like a rocket or a bottle rocket and a firecracker. You're going to go up, it's going to explode, but then it falls down. Well, why do I want to be a rocket that just so cheap to explode? No, sorry. I'm going to build a rocket ship. I'm going to build something I can refuel and take on new experiences and destinations. And I think that's where a lot of us really want to be. It's not that we so much that we want to be rich. We want to enjoy the experiences that we have. And that's really the key here is, are you in a position to enjoy your experience? Being a mom, being a dad, being a doctor, lawyer, an accountant, a welder, whatever it is, your life's work. Can you enjoy the experience? And that's why I do not want to complain about work. I've had to remind myself, like Marcus Aurelius says, he says, do not let your own lips be caught in complaining. Why? Because complaining leads to doubt and fear and all these other things. And it just makes no difference. Like when I see people complain about, like, say, like being on Clubhouse, right? And they'll say this a lot. Oh, Clubhouse is trash, man. But yet these are the same people that are on here all day trying to find and wander. And so what have I done lately? I've really narrowed my focus. Marcus Aurelius also says, narrow your focus, narrow your distractions. And distractions come all the time. And which leads into, I want to spell this out really clearly. And I heard this in the room that I was in, and it's a meaning for focus. What does focus stand for? Fixed on course until success. Whoa. That blew me away. When it blew me away, it was because I didn't realize my focus was not taking in consideration of what I want, what I'm asking for, what I want. Now, what do I want? I'll tell you exactly what I want. I want to share a beautiful home with my wonderful partner with complete honesty and love. And not only just that, but to enjoy experiences to the rest of my days. I'm 50 years old. I don't know how long I have. I'm not going to say that I'm old, but or 50 years of age. Excuse me. I did say I was old. But anyways, I want to enjoy the experience with the abilities that I have left. That does mean that I'm going to have to clean up my health, clean up my mentality, clean up my character. Does my character represent the things that I have? And when I checked around like last weekend when I was going through some shit, let me tell you, my room was a mess. My papers were all over. And when I said, okay, what's the first step? Clean out the clutter. So if you want to get to what you want, clear your distractions, get away from the people, maybe just dip out completely. Don't talk to nobody. Last weekend, I exactly did that. I did not want to talk to anybody. I was in pain. I was hurting, but I wasn't in pain because of something that hurt me, like physically. I was in pain because I didn't recognize the lacks that I had built up in abundance. And when I understood, I was like, okay, I need to improve my situation. I need to change. So my poverty was present. I just didn't really look at it. And when I changed, as I've been changing my view on poverty now I'm going to direct my focus work. I'm going to limit where I wander in my time, which I waste a lot of time in some of these social rooms and with people who are in dead ends or dead flowers. No offense, but that's the truth. If you're not being a voice for change and improvement and you're just idling trying to figure out where you belong, stop yourself. Stop doing that. Get clear. And once you know what you want, go after it, provide maximum effort, right? And if you have to change your identity, people are going to reject you. Just keep this in mind. They're always going to remember something about your past, but over a consistent period of time, when you really turn your life around, no matter who it is, they may be the ones that are holding on to the past, but that doesn't mean you will. And that means you build up your character. You build up your trust, and you pay attention to your availability, because this also brings in something I learned this morning about it. And they use an acronym NET, no extra time. So when people tell me that they don't, it was the guy who was discussing it. He was saying when people say that they don't have time to read, where is all their time? And if you really looked at every single 5 to 10 minute brackets of your whole day, right, from the moment you got up to the moment you went to bed, I bet more than likely there's going to be a time to read, for study, to learn. And it's not just important just to read, but to facilitate what you're reading for. What is the outcome? And does it apply to what you want and your needs? And understand the difference between a want and a need. So just go back to that one acronym: focus, fix on course until you are successful. Keep paying attention to what is going to get a return, right? People say this phrase, ROI, return on investment. Are you investing in your heart? Exercise. I've been out walking every single day, every day, for quite a while. And to clear my thoughts and not get into headspaces I don't belong, I go on my walk. Sometimes I'll have a few people, I'll be in Clubhouse, and I'll have some careful banter, but a lot of times I don't want to be on the phone. I really don't. You know, that's the sign of my addiction. That's the sign of my poverty. So that's my lack. Now I've got to meet my lack with real consideration. So how do we look at some of these things in a better way? So going back to the greatest salesman in the world, they'll say a couple of things. Help me humble through obstacles and failures. That means let me understand, not my failures and obstacles, that you're hurting me, but I'm gaining to learn from experience. Yet hide not from my eyes the prize will come with victory. That means I'll overcome. Yes, I will. Then he says another thing: ask me tasks to which others have failed. Assign me tasks to which others have failed, yet guide me to pluck the seeds of success from their failures. Learn from other people's mistakes, as well as you learn from your own. Confront me with fears that will temper my spirit. That means put me into patience. Yet endow me with the courage to laugh at my misgivings. Like, hey, don't do your best not to take things too personal, you know? And then another key to really getting to know what you're asking for, spare me sufficient days to reach my goals, yet help me to live this day as though it would be my last. So if you're really to live this day as your last, would you celebrate, or would you ponder it and worry, like counting down the moments? Guide me in my words, then they may bear fruit. That means when you speak, it's for a benefit, not a deficit. That means don't criticize, don't gossip. And he even says this: yet silence me from gossip, that none will be mangled. Or what does it say? Malign, excuse me. And in the writer Ogmandito, he does say, discipline me in habit by trying and trying again. That means you're gonna not. It's like, I can't tell you how many times I played a video game, or how many times I've looked at, my guitar and plucked those strings and it didn't sound like, and you're like, okay, thanks, man. But over a while, I calloused my fingers. I got the experience. The tones, the tunes decided to change. The more I practiced it, the better life got, but expose me to hate so it may not be a stranger, yet fill my cup with love to turn strangers into friends. I think that's so important nowadays, that getting what we want is a part of my life quote. And that is, we are not self-made. We have self-interest, But the most important part is that we're community built. You're going to have your own self journeys and no one's going to do it for you, but use every step that you can along the way. And that means watch who you complain about, who you bolster about. That's one thing that I'm really taking serious consideration and time for. When I understand that, guess what? I'm not going to be around idle and gossipy people. And I am around those right now, some of them, but I will dip out and I'll change. Anyhow, this is the part of the show where I'm going to end the YouTube. So I just want to thank all those who view this on recording on YouTube will be available. And I'm going to leave the room. I'm going to be going to Clubhouse. I'm going to be continue recording on Clubhouse for just discussion because I have said a lot in 40 minutes. So we're going to move on to that. So I'm going to close out YouTube. So just bear with me in just a moment here.